Imagine you're an ordinary college student. It's the average student life where the worst thing that can happen to you is breaking up with a stupid boyfriend. After this video, I just want to ask you to compare these events to your own college memories and share your thoughts in the comments. Welcome, my friend. Now I'm going to share 3 true horror stories with you. If you're ready, like the video and let's get started.
I'm Ethan, and after what I'm about to tell you, please don't question my sanity. And don't be angry at me. Like everyone else, I had a university life filled with boring routines. I'd planned a big university, a busy campus, a good routine. But when finals week arrived, my life turned into a strange nightmare. There were no single rooms in our dorm, but I still loved being alone. My roommate, Mark, had gone to his parents for the whole week, so I had that entire room all to myself. Normally, I'd be happy, but the strange silence of finals week terrified me. They say everyone goes crazy during finals week, but I questioned my sanity. I started studying at 7 p.m. on the first day. Coffee, energy drinks, chocolate, the classic finals week fuel. It was 3:40 a.m. My eyelids were burning, but I had one more assignment to finish. Just then, someone knocked on the door. Slow, rhythmic, like someone inside the room tapping on the wall. I wasn't wearing headphones, so I heard correctly. "Who's there?" I called out. There was no answer. I looked out the window. The hallway was empty, the light glowing yellow. "Ethan, you're talking nonsense from lack of sleep," I told myself. I turned back to the desk. I tried to write, but my brain was buzzing. Then another voice. "Ethan!" A whisper, a distinct whisper. My ears weren't buzzing. Someone called my name. I pulled myself together and opened the door. There was no one in the hallway, but the floor was cold. It still vibrated as if someone had just been there. The second night was much worse. I hadn't slept for 30 hours. Everything was blurry. The letters were blurring across the screen. I didn't know the time, but my phone read 4:12 a.m. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. In the corner of my room, just past the desk. It was as if someone were standing, but I couldn't make them out. I blinked, looked, but nothing. Then I looked again, and there was a silhouette. I took a deep breath. "Ethan, you're hallucinating. Calm down," I told myself. But the silhouette began to approach. No footsteps, just a heavy shadow floating by. I closed my eyes, then opened them, and they were gone. I remained frozen, unable to get up from the couch. I didn't turn off the light that night. The third day, I was convinced I shouldn't sleep anymore. If I sleep, I'll miss the final. My mind began to fabricate lies. I was shaking. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. At one point, I went to the sink and washed my face. I looked in the mirror. I was there, but I wasn't. My eyes were sunken, my skin pale, and in that moment, the me in the mirror smiled. I didn't smile, but the reflection laughed. White teeth, empty eyes. My throat went dry, my heart pounding wildly. I backed away, ran to my room. I locked the door. I whispered to myself, "This is a dream. This is a dream. This is a dream." But it wasn't. That last night, nothing felt real anymore. I felt like my phone was constantly vibrating, but it wasn't. Like someone tapping my shoulder. I turned, but no one was there. It was around 5 a.m. The doorknob slowly lowered. It actually lowered. This time it wasn't a hallucination. The door opened slightly. I thought Mark had turned back. "Mark," I said. The door swung open, but no one was visible. I was staring into the void. At that very moment, a voice filled my ears. Not a whisper. Deeper, metallic, like a muffled breath. "Sleep." At that moment, something snapped in my mind. I slammed the door, threw myself onto the bed. I pulled the blanket over my head and, for the first time in days, I fell asleep, albeit unwillingly. When I woke up, it was daylight. Mark had arrived acting normally. Everything seemed ordinary, as if nothing had happened. And every finals week, I relive that night, as if someone is still watching me, waiting for me to fall asleep.
My name is Daniel, and months later, I finally found the courage to tell you about it. I study at a state university. This is a very old campus. In fact, according to legends circulating around town, our dorm building used to be a hospital. But I didn't believe in such things. Until that night, I lived on the 3rd floor of the dorm. That floor was always spooky. The broken fluorescent lights, the long, quiet hallway, the strange, cold air at night. You know, like someone breathing on your neck. That feeling. The events began during exam week. While everyone else was in the library all night, I was studying in my room. When I looked up from my computer screen, I noticed the door to my room was slightly ajar. I usually kept it closed. Dorms aren't unsafe at night, but I don't know. That day, a feeling of doubt crept over me. I stood up and closed the door. The wind, I said to myself. Then, just as I sat down, I heard footsteps as if someone were running down the hall. Fast, clear, rhythmic. Then it stopped suddenly, in front of my door. I held my breath. I listened intently. The doorknob gave way. A cold current passed through me. I saw a shadow cast toward the door. At foot level, in front of the dim light coming from the hallway. Someone was standing behind the door. "Who's there?" I asked. No sound. The only logical explanation came to mind then. My roommate Josh returned. I opened the door. No one was there. The hallway was empty, quiet, dim yellow light, like a long, dark tunnel. But I saw tracks on the carpet, drops of water, someone showering in the dorm. Maybe. But here's the strange thing. The drops were turning into footprints, as if someone had walked with cold, wet feet. I followed the tracks. It went all the way to the corner, and then suddenly it was gone. A person leaves a trail, right? It goes on. But this, it was like someone had existed and then vanished into thin air. I was scared, but I tried to act rational. I went back into the room. I locked the door. I put on my headphones. I tried to study. Not 20 minutes had passed when I heard a whisper above my head. "Daniel." The voice seemed to be directly next to my ear. I had headphones on, but I heard it again. A very heavy, muffled whisper, like someone's throat was being torn apart. I threw the headphones away immediately. The room was freezing. I wasn't sure if my breath was visible, but it felt like it. At that moment, my bed started to tremble on its own. I swear. It was like someone was tapping from underneath. This wasn't a nightmare in my sleep. My eyes were open. I was conscious. My legs went into spasms. I couldn't move. I felt frozen. Then, a silhouette appeared in the darkness at the foot of my bed. Narrow shoulders, tall, head slightly tilted, but its face was gone. There was no detail, just darkness. I felt it staring at me. The bed began to shake faster. It was as if the thing were breathing, cold, deep, trembling breaths. I was so scared I started to pray. I don't know what I said. I just forgot who I was. Then suddenly, all the vibrations stopped. The silhouette disappeared, and the room returned to its original state. There was only the sound of my heart. When Josh came in the next morning, I told him. He laughed. "It's the lack of sleep," he said. At that moment, the door opened again, of its own accord, slowly, quietly, as if someone wanted to come in, but didn't want to be seen. Josh's face went white. He turned to me and said only one thing. "This used to be the morgue. Maybe they haven't emptied it yet." What happened since then? I had it moved, but sometimes at night, I still hear my name whispered, and the door opens on its own. That shadow, I still see it at the end of the hallway sometimes. It just stands and waits, as if it knows one day I'll wake up in the same room again.
My name is Sarah. I'm a second-year medical student at a university. My school is known for its research, but not its comfort. I live in one of the oldest dorms on campus. The hallway lights flicker constantly, and the pipes groan all night long. It's not fancy, but it's close to the hospital. Perfect for my shifts. Something I didn't know when I moved in, my dorm building used to be directly connected to the university hospital. Before renovations years ago, the two buildings were connected by a basement. There used to be a small morgue on that floor. It closed years ago, or so they say. I first heard about it from my roommate, Jenna. She's a nursing student and loves horror stories. One night, while studying, she said, "You know there used to be a morgue under this building, right?" I laughed it off, but her words stuck with me. A few weeks later, I started noticing strange things. When everyone was asleep at night, I'd hear noises coming from downstairs. Our dorm no longer has a basement, just a locked maintenance floor. But I swear I heard footsteps. Slow, dragging steps. Sometimes it sounded like metal scraping against concrete. I asked the front desk. The attendant shrugged. "Old pipes," he said. "This building always makes strange noises." Logical. But then the elevator problem started. Our elevator is ancient. It jerks, it jumps, it sometimes skips floors. One night, returning late from the hospital, exhausted, I got on the elevator and, without thinking, pressed the third floor. The elevator started, but it went down, not up. I looked at the lights on the panel. B was lit. Basement. But there's no basement button in this building. I'd never noticed it before. The elevator stopped. The doors slowly opened. Before me was darkness. No lights. No movement. Just a narrow hallway, tiled walls, and a faint smell of antiseptic. I didn't step out. I couldn't. Something was wrong. I reached for the close door button, but then I heard a voice. A whisper. It said my name. I froze. It wasn't Jenna. It wasn't anyone I knew. His voice sounded dry. Like someone who hadn't spoken in years. I pressed the button and the doors closed. The elevator shuttered and ascended to the third floor. I couldn't sleep at all that night. The next day, I tried to find out more. I went to the university archives. There was almost nothing about the basement morgue. I told Jenna. She thought I was joking. But I was serious. That night, we heard the footsteps again. This time, louder. Closer. We locked our doors and stayed up all night. A few days later, I had another late shift. I didn't take the elevator, I took the stairs. But as I passed the elevator on the second floor, I saw something. The panel was lit. Bia again. The doors were open. I ran. I haven't taken the elevator since. The maintenance crew says there's no B floor. There's no such button on the panel. But I saw it. I heard it. And I know I'm not alone. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear those footsteps. If you ever find yourself staying in an old dormitory near the hospital, don't trust the elevator. And if it takes you somewhere you don't want to go, don't go out.